So what's good, TMG fam? It's your boy L, and I'm back with another reaction. How y'all feel? Welcome back to the channel. Salute. Y'all, I'm starting to get a little bit worried. I'm getting a little bit worried, bro. Y'all are really into this whole punishment type thing. You know what I mean? Y'all are some punishment dungeon red room having 50 Shades of Grey watching, like, demented people out there. Like, the amount of people saying, yo, there's a part 3, L, there's a part 3. I'm like, all right, we gonna check it out. y'all ready for it. I got y'all. Calm down. It's actually a little bit, you know what I mean? Looking at some of y'all with a side eye. But either way, listen, man, we back. This is the top 10 punishments in history you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy, although I think some of y'all would wish it on your worst enemy. Now, this is part 3, all right? We've seen the other 2, and they have yet to disappoint. These joints are crazy. Somebody asked me, after some of the things I see on some of these unsolved or solved cases, is it the people back in the day? Was it they were crazy, or is it the people today are crazy? You know what I'm saying? It's tough when you think about it. It's tough. It's tough when you think about it. That's all I can say, man. But they did have, history shows that the punishments back then, they were different, creative, to say the least. All right, so we're gonna check the video out. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Join the fam, and real quick moment of silence for the haters. That's enough. Now run the likes up. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Let's go.
Vicious, horrifying activity.
Why did it start there? Here we go.
People from the past are unparalleled when it comes to vicious, horrifying activities, and that is exactly what we are here to talk about today. From being locked up in a cage to being thrown into mud, all the way to the infamous Iron Maiden, we've got so many more messed up things to talk about today. What is up, Top 10 fam? Welcome back. I'm your host today, Olivia Kozlowski, and we've got another dark one for you today as we cover part 3 of the top 10 punishments in history you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. Snuggle up with the sweetest, softest things you've got, because this list is anything but that. Let's get right into it. Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have death in a cage. In every part of this video series, I've talked about how public all of these punishments used to be, and this one is certainly no exception. People of the past just really liked watching people die or have pain inflicted upon them.
Somebody said it hasn't changed today. People watched, and they were giving examples like UFC and different things like that. People still love to watch people get hurt or be and they started throwing up. You can't compare UFC to this type of punishment and torture, bro. You can't compare that to UFC. No, we can't do that. I disagree with you. You know what I'm saying? But I did see that.
Past just really liked watching people die or have pain inflicted upon them. I'm not sure what that was about, but I'm just glad I was born in this time and not then, because I would have been fainting every time I left the house. And
so you just casually walk down the street, hey mom, or hey honey, I'm finna run to the store, what do you need, eggs, milk, bread? Okay, I'm gonna run and go pick that up. And you're gradually going down the street and you're passing by these people in these cages, just hanging here until they die. That was just a normal Sunday. It was a normal Sunday for y'all.
Or have pain inflicted upon them. I'm not sure what that was about, but I'm just glad I was born in this time and not then, because I would have been fainting every time I left the house. And not just because I had a cut that modern medicine wasn't around to fix. Anyway, death in a cage is, well, exactly what it sounds like. Essentially, this was just one method of execution that was extremely public, as they would strip the person down and lock them in an iron cage that was placed somewhere that everyone would be able to see. Basically, the condemned person would be locked in there with no food or water, and everyone would just watch them as they slowly died. Yeah, how messed up is that? In our number 9 spot today, we have death by elephants. There's a lot of messed up punishments we've talked about in the last few weeks, but this one makes me extra angry because why do we need to include poor innocent animals in our terrible behavior? You know, execution by elephants was quite a popular method of...
Let me guess, they just let them trample and walk all over you? And elephants, whoo, bro. Dang.
Capital punishment in a certain part of the world. The elephants would be used to crush, dismember, or just inflict pain on captives who were being publicly executed. This method was most commonly used by royalty because it was a way that they could use the elephants to signify both the ruler's power as well as their ability to control a wild animal. This practice began to die out in the 18th and 19th century as the parts of the world that used this method began to be colonized. Elephants were the chosen animal in part because of their size and strength, but also because of their intelligence, domesticability, and versatility. Although bears and lions were more popularly used in other parts of the world, elephants had the ability to be trained to execute the person in a variety of different ways because they are so smart. I feel bad for the people who died like this, but I also feel bad for the elephants who were forced to take part in it as well. In our number 8 spot today, we have mud. In ancient times, like we know all too well at this point, people liked to watch other people die, but one of the most common favorites of the time was suffocation. During the medieval times, however, they liked to do this in their own special messed up way, and that was by using mud. Basically, according to historians, they would just throw criminals into a big thing of stinky mud and leave them there. This would eventually lead to their drowning or suffocation from the mud. Apparently, in medieval France, this cruel and unusual punishment was reserved especially for women who were unfaithful to their husbands. Yeah, I'm really glad now we can just do things like, I don't know, divorce? Just seems like a better option for everyone. You know?
Bro, unfaithfulness carried this type of punishment. Could you imagine today when every 10th of a second somebody's being unfaithful in the world? Can you imagine death by suffocation or drowning in mud? Like, they didn't care how they killed you back then.
It's like, I don't know, divorce? Just seems like a better option for everyone. In our number 7 spot today, we have trial by ordeal. This one is aptly named because it really was a whole entire ordeal, and one that I'm sure absolutely none of us would like to have been a part of. This foolproof ancient judicial practice was used as a test to determine whether someone was innocent or guilty. Spoiler alert, it was not in fact foolproof at all. In fact, it makes absolutely zero sense. Basically, the accused would be placed in the center of everyone, and then they would have severe pain inflicted upon them in a multitude of ways. If they survived the pain, they were innocent, and if they didn't, they were guilty.
Listen to the logic. If you survive us inflicting all this pain on you, then maybe you're telling the truth. Who's gonna survive that? Nobody.
If they survived the pain, they were innocent, and if they didn't, they were guilty. Like, what kind of insanity is that? Apparently there was a bunch of different ordeals people could be subjected to, like cold water, hot iron, really whatever option, they were all bad. And like, what an insane idea to test someone's innocence. I'm just saying, I know a lie detector is only 80 to 90% accurate, but I'll take that over this ordeal any day. In our number 6 spot today, we have the ducking stools. This was a punishment used in 16th and 17th century England and New England, and it was usually a punishment that was reserved for women. This punishment was given to a woman for doing what was considered unwomanly, whatever that is supposed to mean. Apparently this included things like having an argument with their husband, fighting with their neighbors, gossiping, and backstabbing. Whoever made these rules had clearly never met a man because, newsflash, everyone does literally all of those things, but hey, clearly the logic used in the past was, well, not logical. Basically, this punishment would see a woman being tied up to a stool and then dropped into a lake or stream over and over again. This was actually a punishment method that didn't usually end up in death, but that sounds like the worst consolation prize of all time. In our number 5 spot today, we have the wooden horse. This was a device that was used, and although different variations of it existed at different times in different parts of the world, the general concept was the same, and it was a punishment meant to inflict a great deal of pain. Basically, the device...
All the fellas right now are, ha 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 ha. Whoo. Man. Whew. Just look at fellas. Don't look, fellas. Don't look. I'm sorry, fellas. Don't look.
This was a sort of
Don't
wooden
look.
block, normally in the shape of a triangle with a point at the top. Whoever was having the pain inflicted upon them would be tied up and placed onto the block with a leg on either side. From there, they would have weights tied to their legs in order to slowly lower them down.
These fools added weights to your legs too. Just it ain't enough that the little spikes is at the top. You got to sit there and gravity's already pulling you. But they added weights as well. Come on, man. Like, give a brother a break.
Out onto the already uncomfortable block.
Ew.
In later years, this punishment would be inflicted at the same time as the person was being paraded through town, usually with other humiliating punishments being inflicted on them at the same time. This method would often leave the person injured and unable to walk without pain.
Or have kids. Or be able to poop the same. No. What? No. After you finish pooping blood for the next 10 years of your life. I'm pretty sure everything from that is permanent. Damage, scars, everything.
Number 4 spot today, we have solitary confinement. This is a kind of punishment that still exists in our modern society, but it truly can be one of the worst punishments out there because of the kind of psychological distress it causes. Basically, this form of punishment involves a prisoner living in a single cell with little to no meaningful contact with anyone else. The isolation that solitary confinement can create can be life-altering for people. There are many stories of people being locked up for so long that they forget about their families. Some people have gone away to solitary confinement for so long, once they're let out, they no longer speak. Solitary confinement and the negative effects it has on a person is becoming a wider topic of conversation because of the effects on a person's mental well-being, and it's a common topic for a lot of human rights organizations. In our number 3...
And then they just release you back either to Gen Pop if you're still in jail, or when you get out, they release you to the... And you're so messed up. You just spent your, like, probably the size of some people's bathrooms. You just spent the last, year, 2 years, maybe 8 months, however long you were in there with no interaction, like no outside time really. And you was just in there. Like, what do you expect a person to be like coming out of there? I would need a lot of therapy. I would be messed up.
Spot today, we have hamstringing. Okay, this one sounds terrible, but also just the visual this gives me in my head is enough to give me goosebumps. Hamstringing is a pretty simple concept, although extremely horrible and just disgusting, and it involves simply severing the hamstring tendons in the back of the thigh so as to incapacitate the victim. You know when you're watching basketball or football or whatever and someone tears a muscle in the game and it looks horribly painful? Yeah, this is like that, but so much worse because it's not just an accidental injury, and instead someone is just being the jigsaw of the real world. Not only does this punishment restrict a person's movement greatly, but it also inflicts a great deal of pain as well, making it the double whammy of awfulness. In our number 2 spot today, we have the Iron Maiden. When I say those words, some of you might start thinking about the band, but we are talking about a very different, much more gruesome Iron Maiden today. The Iron Maiden was a popular instrument that was used in Europe in medieval times in order to inflict excruciating punishments on people. Basically, the Iron Maiden was like an iron cabinet that had large spikes inside of the doors. When someone was placed inside, some dark, twisted person could close the doors, which of course would subsequently impale the person on the inside. The doors could be closed either all the way to take the life of the person inside, or they could just be closed partially, just to ensure that pain was inflicted without taking their life. Let's just hope the trooper inside doesn't have a fear of the dark. So basically, if you see any Iron Maidens lying around, especially one with the number of the beast, you should probably run to the hills.
And what's crazy about that is, you know what I mean, if you study up on people going through EMT school, they would always tell you if you were impaled with an object, you don't immediately remove it. Wait till you get, you know what I'm saying, medical attention to remove it, or a doctor's clearance to say remove it. So imagine a person being impaled and could possibly still be alive with that in there and dying that type of slow, painful death. Like, they again, I say, they were creative.
In our number one spot today, we have keel hauling. This is a word that I wish I could erase from my vocabulary, as it has to do with one of the most terrible punishments I've ever heard of, but I guess we've talked about 30 of these already, so I should be used to it by now. The word for this punishment comes from the Dutch word keelhalen, which apparently means to drag along the keel, and that is exactly what this terrible method was all about. This punishment was usually reserved for sailors, and they would be stripped, tied, and suspended by rope from the mast of the ship with weights tied to their legs. The rope would be looped beneath the ship so that once the tied up sailor is released, they'd be dragged under the keel of the ship. In the world of the most unsurprising news ever, this method had basically 100% fatality rate. Wow, it's almost as if you put someone in a situation that threatens their life in multiple ways, they might not survive. How strange. All right, guys, that has been our list for today. Thank you so much for checking it out,
And you know what's the crazy thing about this? Why do I feel like it's all the way up to like part 10 of this series, maybe? Why do I feel like it's more to come? Like, they just... How many of these can it possibly be? How many do you need? What happened to just, hey man, we only need a few torture devices? I'm pretty sure we've covered maybe over, what, 50? No, we did 10, so 30. 30, we watched 3 videos of top 10, 30. 30 ways already we've gotten to, and why do I feel like it's a lot more? Fam, again, like she said and I said, bro, be thankful you was alive in these times, because a simple mess up or a mistake would have got you punished, and punish means torture. Tortured. You don't get so many chances like they give you today, bro. Ain't no 3 strikes you out back then. You know what I mean? You do 1 strike, you might catch a steak up the high. You know where it could go. But y'all get at me in the comment section, man. Let me know what y'all thought of this video. And yeah, stick around, stay tuned, man. So the next reaction, I'm gone. Peace.